Hey, everybody. Welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast, a baseball podcast hosted by two comedians in New York. My name is Kevin McCaffrey. I'm here with the other comedian, Adam Amawala. What's up, Adam?
What's up? Still in New Jersey. Maybe I'll go back to New York. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll never go back. Who can say?
Maybe none of us will go anywhere else ever again. And I've realized at this point, I guess it's habit to say we're two comedians hosting this baseball podcast. Am I? I might be retired, so it might just be two Cubs fans. Hard to say. I know you've been doing Zoom shows and stuff, right?
I've been doing the occasional Zoom show. I had a real hot month for Zoom shows about a month ago, but now seems less like the time.
Yeah, yes, it feels less of a funny time. We missed. You can follow us on all the normal places if you don't so far. We're at Away Games Pod on Twitter and Instagram. We missed maybe the first week we've ever missed with an episode.
It is, yeah.
Last week, and I mean, you guys probably figured it out. It wasn't that we didn't have any episodes for you. I think we just felt it would be stupid to be talking about anything else.
Yeah,
last Wednesday, or any time in the last week. So.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that things have changed for the better so much that we feel that this is a super important week to have an episode. But
no, we didn't fix it. It's not fixed now. But we're trying to, I guess, one day come back and keep talking, I guess, about stuff we like and other stuff we like. And I think about stuff we like and stuff we don't like, and baseball stuff and otherwise. And I think if you happen to be somehow a new listener to this podcast, it's a weird time to start listening to baseball podcasts, but fucking welcome. There's several Cubs podcasts, and there's a lot of fun ones that we also listen to. I think one thing that does make us a little different from other Cubs podcasts is I think we talk more about stuff beyond baseball and more feelings. I think we're a more opinionated podcast than maybe some of the others that are also great, but focus more, on baseball stats, stuff like that. We still talk that, but we also talk about actual feelings and opinions here, I think. And I know we've both had a lot over the past week, right?
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you're one of our loyal small contingent of listeners, you probably know where Kevin and I stand on most issues anyway, and this comes as no surprise to you. But it's in a time that things already kind of felt irrelevant. They have started to feel really irrelevant in the grand scheme of things when you consider what so many people deal with on a consistent basis, and not even to speak too opaquely about it. Like, I've had the chance to go to some peaceful protests. I know you had a chance to do the same, and as bleak as things are, this does feel different in a positive way in terms of people coming together. And, I think in some cases that's because people are bored and they want an excuse to go out. But I think in large part, I'm hoping that this is actually some sort of paradigm shift happening here. Do you feel that in New York?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, where there's always going to be an element of whenever there's something that it seems like, quote, everyone is doing, you'll have some people where I think maybe there is an element of some bored people going out to be a part of just like, quote, what's happening. But I think what struck me the most really was seeing not even the people involved in the protest, which in New York, there's, thousands upon thousands everywhere, like multiple gatherings of thousands of people in every borough every day for the past week and a half. Asking for extremely simple things. It's literally don't kill us, don't hurt us. But more to me, it was as people were marching through neighborhoods in Queens and Brooklyn, seeing the people, the older people, like from their balconies, from their windows, people who are working shifts, bus drivers, people who work with the parks department, who were just there seeing this come through, seeing the energy from them, seeing their support, and seeing how they felt seeing this happen. That really made me feel more hopeful than anything, even more than the protesters themselves.
Right. And I think one thing kind of along those lines, and I know our friend Andy Cruz Vandasek from the Cup of Cubby Blue podcast echoed this sentiment
Yeah.
after I had tweeted something about it. But I've been in suburban New Jersey, and the town that I'm in specifically has been known to be like kind of a red area because it's fairly affluent and all that. And in going to a protest over the weekend, not only did I see people of all ages and backgrounds there, but there were also a lot of people who were there supporting the cause who, if I walked past them on the street, I would make certain assumptions about them.
Oh yeah.
And as dangerous as it is for so many people in this country to see a black person or see a person of color and make certain assumptions based on nothing and not knowing that person, I think people like us on the left do the same exact thing. And you see somebody who's got a trucker hat on and a big beard, and you're like, oh, look at that, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sure I know who they voted for. It's like, no, you don't. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really know anything about anybody. So I think that's something that I'm learning is that as much as you want to believe that it's one-sided and it's all like, bad people judging good people, I think there's responsibility from folks like us who are more liberal to not make certain assumptions about people either. And it was really beautiful. I think my experience was really positive over the weekend, and there are so many people who have said it so much more eloquently than I have. But I'm hoping to anybody who's listening, who's more in the all lives matter camp, that you realize that like we shouldn't be framing this as it's Black Lives Matter versus all lives matter. Try to think of it as either Black Lives Matter or Black Lives don't matter. So hopefully you can appreciate that Black Lives Matter. And for all lives to matter, Black lives have to matter, and then all lives can matter, and we'll all live happily ever after.
Yeah, it's pretty. It should be a pretty simple time not to add the word "but" to the end of that extremely basic statement. And I think the simplicity of the statement "Black Lives Matter" is where so much of the unfortunate power of the statement lies. It's so simple, and there are people who still either don't understand or don't want to understand it. And I think when you see Mitt Romney marching in a Black Lives Matter protest, and you see when you're talking about making sweeping snap judgments based on who people are, when you see all the NASCAR drivers in the top series, the Cup Series of NASCAR, come together to make a statement about Black Lives Matter. I mean, do you want to be on the other side of NASCAR drivers and Mitt Romney when it comes to this? I mean, like, that really is what it is. And I was thinking about that because, too, where it's like, I think as a guy, you're talking about people who you see and you'd think they might be an all lives matter person or or a blue lives matter aggressive type like that. I think I'm a white guy. I'm 100% Irish, and my family's split between Chicago and New York. So believe it or not, I know some fucking cops. I've got some cops in my family, and yeah, I've got a couple of good ones. I've got a couple that I'm pretty sure aren't good. And I remember immediately, this is a Cubs connection, after the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. You guys remember that. It really happened. Immediately after that, I was headlining a weekend of stand-up shows in South Bend, Indiana. And a white guy, older white man, saw me on the street and said, "We did it," to me. And I, as you and many Cubs fans listening, you guys probably experienced something Adam and I did. When people know you're a Cubs fan, the Cubs win, people started congratulating us like we won the World Series. They'd be like, "I'm so happy for you. Congrats." So for a moment, I thought that's what he was talking about. And then I realized I wasn't wearing any Cubs stuff. He saw, oh yeah, that's right. I look like what is frequently the bad guy. I think, I'm a white Irish guy, and that's what this guy saw in me. And he was like, "We did it," meaning Trump getting elected. And I think like it's been a time where you can see it's a good line in the sand time where this shouldn't be a political thing at all. This is a humanity thing. And for me, and cut me off if you had anything to throwing off that, Adam, specifically, but I was going to say, as it relates to baseball, I think watching how baseball players, which of the leagues, not nearly the best in responding to social issues in general. I don't think.
No, not the best, which is the NBA, not the worst, which is always the NFL,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
the NFL. Yeah.
still a ways to go.
Mm-hmm. But I think watching how certain players respond in this moment has informed things for, I think both Adam and I have been informed about some players like, oh, I now like this guy more. I now know a little bit more about this person and what he stands for. And there's people who are more disappointing. And there's people who are harder to root for based on the the content of their character. And
Right.
I know there's sports fans who don't like that, who only want the sports on the field. I think we tend to consume the game as a form of entertainment where it feels, but not empty entertainment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like these are humans, and I prefer the humans I root for to be better than not. And
Yeah, and look, in when you're following a sport where the team is as big as they are in baseball, not everyone's viewpoints are going to align with yours,
of
and
course
at a
not.
certain point you have to, I guess accept that if you want to be able to root for people. But
Right.
yeah, it definitely makes you feel good when people that you look up to and or people that like you would have guessed that they would be kind of on the right side of things, but you wouldn't necessarily have known when you're seeing them come out in solidarity. And I feel like we touched on this briefly a couple weeks ago, or maybe you and I just did privately, but a lot of baseball players, particularly white baseball players, are people who come from the South. They don't necessarily grow up around a lot of diversity, and then all of a sudden they're in the minors or they're on a professional team and they're thrown into this kind of very diverse environment. And I think a lot of these guys learn from that, and maybe they would have been the sorts of people who, when they were 14, would have, tweeted something shitty or made some sort of assumption about somebody, and now they're in a locker room just saying like, yeah, we all like to you know, drink beer and take care of our family and win baseball games. And we like ultimately we all kind of want the same things. So I think baseball has an opportunity to really be on the forefront of this. I don't know that MLB will, but hopefully
No, yeah.
individually players can do that.
I have absolutely no belief in the league, the commissioner, Manfred, or owners to do anything right at any step, which they've shown throughout the negotiations trying to get the league back on track here. I have
Mm-hmm.
no faith in any of them. I have more faith in some of the players, and I'll name names too where we've been doing interviews with players lately,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been great. We've had they've all been a lot of fun to talk to. But I'll say Justin Steele is a guy who even I, as a white dude but from the North, may have thought, oh, I hope he doesn't say anything problematic. He's a white guy from Mississippi who was drafted out of high school, and he's been speaking up and he's been posting things in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think that's an example of a guy like you're saying where you don't know where these players are coming from, but they can there's some that surprise you in the wrong way, and there's others that surprise you in a good way. So that it was cool to see Justin Steele and other guys like Rob Zastrisny was posting great stuff too. We saw Dexter Fowler mention that Anthony Rizzo reached out to him specifically to ask how he could help
Mm-hmm.
too, which is, I mean, you expect that from Rizzo at this point, obviously, but
Yeah.
still nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of MLB and speaking of owners and all of that business, you want to kind of take the lead here because I mean, I've been reading probably the same stuff you have, but I know you've been kind of sharing some stuff that you've been hearing recently. It still seems like a very fluid situation with, how they're going to handle things this year. And it looks like baseball will happen in 2020. So I guess that's good as a baseline. But yeah, what are you thinking?
It's I've read a lot about it, and it's a thing where I've begrudgingly tried to learn about it because I hate it so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
I hate talking about money, and because it's always so fucking predictable who's most at fault here, and it's for sure the owners. I truly don't understand blaming anyone but them here. But a couple of basic points are they're the numbers they're pitching and basing their proposals off of are just not real. For one thing, they're not opening their books,
Mm-hmm.
and as Sean Doolittle has pointed out, they revenue keeps going up every year, even as attendance has gone down. So when the owners try to, and obviously attendance it's a significant amount of money. Of course, people in your stadium, no one's saying that it's not. But they're not. The owners are clearly not being honest about the money that's coming in, and also, I mean, when you see the owners attempt in Oakland trying to not pay their minor leaguers at all,
right?
Saying they can't, and then when they realized they were the only team doing that, they said somehow figured out a way where it was possible to pay these players a couple of $100 here and there. When players were on the side of trying to cover, who were going to cover that money for the minor leaguers,
right?
David Price came out with the Dodgers and offered to pay minor leaguers, and he hasn't even.
And the Nationals too, I think, collectively did that.
Yes, the Nationals collectively, when the learners were cutting hundreds of dollars from these people like it matters. There's other places that go better in depth. Michael Cerami's done a good job in Cubs Twitter world, covering some of that. And Kylie McDaniel was talking, I think, laid it out really well in an interview on the Baseball Tonight podcast this week. But it's just the players want to play. The owners are disingenuous in terms of how the facts they're presenting. The owners want less games because it just means they lose slightly less money. And in a baseball team in general, I mean, we had Ricketts, our boy, talking about quote unquote losing biblical. He's like, it's the difference between us losing money or losing biblical money. It's been a while since I did read the Bible, but I forget. Do you remember what rich person on the right side of things lost the most money in the Bible? I don't remember that as what is a biblical amount of money? I'm curious.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's just
nothing tone deaf about that.
No, the owners are the problem. I mean, that's Cliff Notes. There's better places to dive into it, and
Is Tom Ricketts going to dramatically walk to the Wrigley marquee holding a Bible?
I would honestly, man. He should. Except the difference is he should open up the Bible and show the part where they talk about the richest losing money and that being a bad thing. Jesus obviously clearly in favor of hoarding money at the top. Always. I mean, everyone knows that. So yeah, all owners are bad. AOAB. Fuck it. Yeah, but I hope that. But I hope we just hope the season actually happens at some point. Also, the players pitched a 114 game season. The owners pitched a 48 game season, which isn't even baseball, and they're just unwilling. And the owners are the ones who are unwilling to meet in the middle, paying the full prorated salaries.
But they're talking about a 16-team playoff, right?
Mm-hmm. And supposedly. And which would be like at the league's discretion, whatever that means, in terms of, I guess, how you format it, I guess, or whether they go as high as 16 teams, which of course they would. Yeah, and supposedly that's where a huge bulk of the money would come from. Which again, because we don't have any guarantees that will be with fans. If less games is getting you so much more money, then the money's not coming mostly from the in-stadium, from the fans.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if a disproportionate amount of money is coming from a 16-team playoff as opposed to the regular season with many more teams, if less games are making you disproportionately more money, what is that coming from? It's television deals. It's that kind of thing. So. Yeah, it's just time for this to be done. And I think the players have shown they're willing to meet in the middle on fully, as long as it's fully prorated salaries, and the owners have not been willing to do that thus far.
Yeah.
Boo all owners. If you see them, don't cheer an owner. Don't cheer an owner at a Cubs convention or anything else ever again. They don't love you. They don't love us. They don't love baseball. It's a fucking investment. They're real estate owners. That's it. And they make their money when they sell the team. That's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they make money otherwise, but that's when they make the insane generational money.
They make a lot of money on beer. We've all seen
Mm.
those snake cups in the bleachers.
We have. That's true. Yes.
I realized that two years ago at this exact time I was at Wrigley. I would have to check on the date, but I know it was these set of dates, and it included the infamous Ian Happ 3 diving catches game against the Pirates.
Nice. Was that in left field? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Um,
It was also I went to a game with Ken, and I believe it was the last time that Brandon Morrow pitched as a
yeah,
Cub. It was like early June of 2018, and then he went on the DL shortly
that's
after
right.
that, and
Yeah.
has yet to pitch. I don't know what his deal is right now. I know I think re-injured something in spring training. I'm forgetting.
Man, we could do a meme comparing the world to now to the last time Brandon Morrow pitched, and it would be a fucking bummer, dude.
Well, to be clear though, we could also do that comparing it to the last time that people played spring training games, and it would be equally as jarring. So
it's also bad. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. But we have had in recent weeks. I think our podcast has done a pretty fun job of figuring out how to fill the time.
Oh yeah.
We've been talking to some Cubs.
We have been talking to some Cubs. Our next episode featuring a Cub is going to be with former Cub catcher and all-time Cub fan favorite, Taylor Davis, your boy.
Yep, Taylor Davis, great guy. We did the interview
Awesome guy.
like a week and a half ago or so, a long time ago. We were going to run it last week, and then the story. So Taylor Davis, we're going to have a week from today as this episode comes out. It'll be out next Wednesday. But before that, and it's a blast, and we heard some stories we'd never heard before, and he's just funny, great guy. And we've also had fun interviews with. Rob Zastryzny was incredible. If you haven't listened to that, that's I think our most must-hear episode we've ever had.
I think he might have interviewed us. I don't even remember anymore.
He did ask. I mean, he was asking us questions, about being fans and working in comedy. He was interviewing us too. Zastryzny was wonderful. Justin Steele, Cubs prospect, left-handed pitcher. We talked to old Cub Kyle Farnsworth. We talked to John Lieber. And Alec Mills as well.
Yeah.
So we've gotten to talk to some fun Cubs. So listen to that if you haven't. We've got some.
I'm just realizing that Taylor Davis was our first non-pitcher.
I know pitchers will get back to you. It turns out
it kind of makes sense though. Like if there's anybody who wants to really talk about baseball, it seems like pitchers would be those people.
And to be fair, Taylor Davis did pitch, so technically
that is true.
Also qualified as a pitcher, has a 0 ERA. And so Taylor Davis is going to come out next week, and we're going to keep having interviews with Cubs, former Cubs, and future Cubs. But we have a draft special coming up with Bryan Smith, who is, I think, he's a Cubs prospect expert. He's on Twitter at Cub Prospects. We've had him on the show before to talk about Cub prospects. And the baseball draft is this week. It's Wednesday and Thursday. Round 1 is Wednesday, then rounds 2 through 5 are on Thursday. And so we're going to have Bryan on, and he's going to tell us everything we need to know about our at least 5 new Cubs. So check that out. That's the next episode after this one, and that's going to drop as soon as it's done. We're talking to him on Thursday night, I think is what we're going to do. And we'll just drop it immediately because Thursday night is when the 5th round will end.
I guess that bumps us back up to the number of episodes we would have expected to have at this very time.
Mm-hmm. We caught back up, so it's all good. Yeah.
You got anything else?
I got nothing else. I think we did it. As we just wanted to pop back on Wednesday before the draft special to say hi, talk about, let you guys know we're not gone. We're but we're
We're not gone. We're still here. Please, anybody who's going out to a protest or really anywhere, wear a mask. Don't be dumb.
Yeah, don't be a fucking idiot. Don't be an idiot, and don't be an asshole. Those are like two pretty good rules. Wear a mask. Be nice.
Yeah. That's it. At Away Games Pod, Twitter and Instagram. We will talk to you soon.